Okay, so the big news is that Ukraine and America, not Ukraine and Russia, agreed to a 30-day ceasefire. Yeah. And I wanted to explain you quickly what a 30-day ceasefire means in this word. It means absolutely zero. Yeah, zero. It means absolutely nothing. And I'm going to explain you why it means nothing. But first, I want to tell you a couple of good things about this ceasefire. Yeah, which again means nothing, but there's a couple of good things. First good thing, and which is an amazing thing, it's America. Again, it's supplying Ukraine with weapons and re-established the communication with the intelligence, right? So that is absolutely great news for Ukraine. They desperately needed that. And the moment the Americans decided to stop the supplying of weapons and to stop the communication and share intelligence, that was a devastating blow for Ukraine, yeah? Which is why Russia stepped up and started attacking more and more and more. Obviously, Trump realized what a huge mistake he's done, and also he cornered Zelensky into basically accepting to things he shouldn't accept, right? So, yeah, Zelensky was forced to accept this so-called ceasefire, which again means zero. Yeah, means zero in this word, and I'll explain you exactly why it means nothing in this word. I also heard Trump saying that if Russia agrees to this ceasefire, we are 80% there in the peace talks. No, we're not. It means zero. We are 1% there. This ceasefire means nothing. And I'll explain you now why. So I have the map right here. So you can see this is a map that's done yesterday, right? So it's very accurate, right? It's not an old map. And this is how Ukraine looks right now. And this is the Russian forces, right? And you will see here in this region, which is you're gonna see it in the news talked about. It's the region with Kursk, yeah. So Ukrainians basically lost that and they had to retreat. There's two reasons. One, because Americans decided to cut the intelligence, which was a huge blow for the Ukrainian army, and they had to retreat. And second, they also showing, let's call it a good sign of some sort of willing. But the horrible part of this that's the region that Ukraine was leveraging. That's the biggest region that they had to leverage in any peace talks, right? So it was very important for them to keep that. But now they lost that. So that's a devastating blow for Ukrainian forces. It's horrendous. But they had no other option but to retreat from there. So now basically Russia is in full control of it, right? They're still retreating. There's still a couple of soldiers leaving, but they basically have it back, right? Which again, I can't stress how bad that is for Ukraine. But again, they were cornered into doing that. Now, the second good thing about this ceasefire, if Russia agrees to this ceasefire, would be that there would be a 30 days where soldier would not die. Yeah. I think everybody wants that. We just want people to stop dying. Yeah. And sadly, I do not know how to say this, but even on the Russian side, I deeply wish soldiers to stop dying. They are fighting a useless war. They are fighting Putin's war. So everyone needs to stop dying, yeah? Please, just stop dying. So that's the only two good things about this ceasefire. But let me explain you why this ceasefire actually means nothing. We all want peace, yeah? A ceasefire doesn't mean peace. Again, I'm showing you this map, right? This is Ukraine. This was the whole Ukraine. This amount of territory is under Russia or controlled by Russia or fighting for. You see how huge this is? This is Ukraine, and this is the territory that's already been taken, right? Now, the problem is to actually agree to peace doesn't mean a ceasefire. A ceasefire, a 30-day ceasefire can be broken any day by any side. It means zero, yeah? First of all, Russia didn't accept it. And even if they do accept it, they will break it. I will guarantee you they will break it. And that's exactly what Zelensky was trying to explain when he was in America, right? Now, he doesn't need to explain it to us, right? I'm Romanian. I live right here, yeah? I'm not in this world just now. The only reason why I'm making now videos about it, even though I've been making posts about it for years, it's because it got to the point where I see so much disinformation that I just can't take it anymore, right? So I've been following this war very closely since the first invasion in Crimea, right? And besides that, please understand that I am born and raised in Romania. So I've been watching Russian all my life. Yeah, it's nothing that I need to watch to know this stuff. I lived with this stuff. So I'm very well informed with what's going on, right? And I'm also a person that cares very much. So again, I know exactly what's going on. I don't need anybody to tell me anything. I don't need to read media, and I don't need anybody to influence my opinions. I am born and raised there. I know very well what Russians are doing. I know who Putin is. Yeah, he's been there all his life, and I don't need anyone to explain me anything. That would be the first reason. A second reason, me making videos about it, it really doesn't change much. It really doesn't. And another reason why I don't like making these videos is because honestly, hand on my heart, I'm actually scared to make these sort of videos, yeah? And again, I don't need to explain it why, but when you live on that side of the world, there's certain things you just shouldn't be doing, right? So let's just say like that. But again, it got to the point where everything is on the line right now, right? This is extremely bad for Europe, and especially for Eastern Europe, which I am part of, right? So it's not just about Ukraine, it's about all of us. So again, the only reason I'm making these videos is to try to inform some of you of what's actually going on right there. So back to what a ceasefire means. It means, like in every other war, that they're gonna stop fighting if Russia agrees for 30 days, right? Now, this happens in many wars, right? And it means nothing, because what happens after, in these 30 days, they're gonna gather more supply on each side, yeah, prepare their troops and go fight again, right? This is not a war that will end until one of the sides wins. Please understand, both of their sides have made their interest very, very clear. Russia wants to keep at least all the gains. Their interest of taking the whole Ukraine has been made very clear by Putin and Russia many times. Yeah, they don't want a part of Ukraine, they want the whole Ukraine. And if they can't take Ukraine territorially, they want a Russian government installed in Kiev. Do you understand that? They made those intentions clear. Either we have the whole Ukraine, or you put a Russian puppet government in Kiev, right? Which means, again, they are controlled by Russia, right? Those are Russian intentions. And another thing that they made clear is that they will not give up the regions that they already taken, right? So that's what Russia wants, right? There's nothing else. They didn't fight this war, have so much money put into it, have so many people dead on their side to give up on their goals. That's the only goal for them to have Ukraine, right? Ukraine also made their interest very clear. They want their territory back. They want this whole thing back. You understand that? So this is what the two sides want. And it's not going to be a peace deal, because you can't agree. Okay, Russia wants one thing and Ukraine wants another thing. A ceasefire doesn't guarantee any peace. The only way that this war will stop is if Russia stops and Ukraine gets their territory back. That I don't know how more simple I can explain this, yeah? There is no backing on either side. Russia will continue their fight to get their goals, and Ukraine will have to defend their country until the last soldier. Do you understand that? They will not give up on their country. It's that simple. And who can ask them to give up on their country? They'd rather all be dead. It's that simple. So the only way that peace can be achieved in Ukraine is Russia takes their army out of Ukraine and gives Ukraine back their territory. There's nothing else we can talk about. Now, let me explain you very simple and show you why Russia will not give up their territory, right? And what's Russia's intention. So check this out. So you can clearly see here, February 27, 2025, yeah? And obviously this they've been saying forever, so it's nothing new. But just so you understand why Russia will not give up on this. Check this out, yeah? The territories that have become subject of the Russian Federation, yeah? Russian Federation, which are inscribed in our country's constitution, yeah? So in their constitution, are an inseparable part of our country, yeah? So what they mean by that is the parts that they taken, and you can see here, right? These are the annexation parts that they wrote in their constitution. Please understand. Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, right? All these four regions plus Crimea, it's part of their constitution. They wrote it in their constitution, which means absolutely nothing for us because we declined that. But to Russian, those are part of their territory. So they can't give that back. That's part of the Russian Federation now. Please understand. So even if they stop the war right now, somehow, which again, we know they won't because they want the whole of Ukraine, those parts are already written in Russian constitution, right? So which means it's part of Russian Federation. If we attack that, we attack Russia. It's that simple. So those parts will never be given back willingly. We have to take them back. There's no other way, okay? If he doesn't make it very clear for you guys, I do not understand what clear means. It's in their constitution, okay? So that's the first reason why they will not give it back. And that's why exactly why they wrote that in their constitution. Now, the other reason why Russia will not stop this war and will not give up their territory and their gains in Ukraine is because, like everybody knows, Putin wants the Soviet Union back. And everybody who says it's not about that, it's lying to you. Yeah, that's exactly what Putin wants. Yeah, he wants the Soviet Union back. And for those that are not aware what the Soviet Union is, I'm going to show you right here very quickly. Yeah, it's the first communist state. Yeah, the world's first communist state made. Yeah, and they were once the largest country. Yeah, so the USSR. Yeah, which was led by the Communist Party. You guessed it. So the USSR contained 15 different states, right? 15 different states. These are the states right here. Yeah. And you can see Ukraine on number 6 here. It's a huge part of the USSR, right? You have Russia, which now is Russia. So we're not talking about the First World War, the Second World War. I'm not taking you that back. I'm taking you 35 years ago back, right? The USSR disbanded in 91. Please understand, yeah? Not 100 years ago, now 200 years ago. It's not old news, right? This happened 35 years ago, right? Putin was a KGB agent, right? So for everybody who doesn't know that, please Google it, okay, what that means. So he was just not liking the communists. He was working for the Communist Party. The KGB was like the CIA, just way worse, the unit that was defending the Communist Party, yeah? Those were the agents that was harming people. Those are the communist agents that were protecting the communists. Do you understand that? So Putin has always been a communist. He was born and bred to be a communist. So he wants, and he doesn't live forever, he wants the USSR back, right? And if you look here at the countries that are made of, you will notice that the Asian countries have already been at war with Russia many times. But it's very hard to attack on this front because of European Union. Please understand, in Europe. These are the Baltic countries, right? So Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Those are part of the EU. He can't go and fight those. Ukraine, on the other side, is the poorest country in Europe. Please understand, is the poorest country in Europe. And next to it, you have Moldova, right? Which is an extremely small country and is the second poorest country in Europe. So those are extremely good targets, right, for them to take back. And that's the bridge that opens to your whole Europe, yeah? So in order to go into Europe, you have to have Ukraine. Please understand, he needs Ukraine in order to get his callbacks. Now, besides the USSR countries, you have countries like Poland, yeah, and Romania, right, which were not part of the USSR, but was communist countries that fell in 89, right, and they were led with Russian influences, right? So please understand, it's not just about those countries, it's about the whole Eastern Europe, yeah? Like if you remember the Berlin Wall, right? Please, for those that don't know history, just grab some books quickly, it's not hard, right? But that's Putin's intentions and are very, very clear. So please, it's not about just Ukraine being a democratic country, yeah? They stopped that. They're trying to stop it, yeah? That's old news. They want the whole thing back, not just Ukraine. They're not going to stop at Ukraine. Ukraine is their first step, and they need Ukraine in order to advance. And Europe knows that. Europe is not stupid, which is why Europe now is stepping up. Europe was scared at the start, and I understand why. I was scared too. They have nuclear weapons. You don't want to fight with Russia. No one wants to fight this war. No one wants to go with war with Russia. But it got to the point where we just have to. We have to defend Ukraine and we have to defend Europe. And that's why Americans were involved at the start, not because they nice and kindly they just wanted to send money to Ukraine. Yeah, guys, have money. No, it's because America understands what's at stake here. Trump is on something else. He is on something else completely now, which is gonna blow into his face because he cannot avoid this. Europe needs peace in order to work with United States, right? And United States needs Europe, needs Canada, and needs all those countries that's trying to go away from. But you guys cannot be by yourself. It doesn't work that way. And Zelensky explained it. And Zelensky explained it very well as well. It's just unfortunate that he was just mocked. But you guys have an ocean. That America has oceans that defend it, and you have very good neighbors on each side. But the second things go the way you don't want to go, oh, it's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna be pretty for anybody, especially if you lose your allies. So you cannot be in this war by yourself. You just cannot. And now let me show you how Europe looks right now. Yeah, so this is how Europe looks right now, and this is Russia, right? So you have Finland over here, right? That has a huge border with Russia, okay? Which again, it's a EU country. They cannot go and attack, right? You have again, like I said, the Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Again, EU countries, they cannot go and attack, right? Then you have Poland here, yeah, because that's still territory controlled by Russia, and obviously that's Belarus, which is Russia. Yeah, they call it Belarus, but it's Russia. So yeah, you have Poland right there, yeah, and then you have Ukraine here, which is not a EU country, right? So guess what? That's a great target, right? You have then Moldova again, which is right there. Moldova is extremely complicated to attack because Moldova it's a country that speaks Romanian, and they're gonna have to deal with Romania because we have a lot of Romanian people in there. That's a country that should have belonged to Romania, but they decided to be independent, and we allowed them to be independent because we're not gonna go take them by force. That's not how we work in a civilized country. So if they want to be independent, they are free to be independent. The same way Ukraine is free to be independent. So Ukraine and Moldova, it's great targets for Russia. Please understand that. And obviously then they have the Black Sea, and after the Black Sea, because that's Russia, they have Romania, again, which is EU and NATO member, so they can't mess with that. Then you have Bulgaria, again, EU member. So they can't mess with anything on this side of Europe. So when they say they don't want the NATO extension and EU extension border Russia, they're talking BS, because they have borders everywhere with NATO and European Union. Right? Everywhere. No one is attacking them. They're not scared of EU and NATO. That's not what they're scared of. Look at the border. Russia borders them everywhere. Ukraine is literally the last country. You understand that? Which is why they want it. And even if they had an issue with that, it's Ukrainians' right to choose which side they go. They didn't come and bomb Romania when we went part of. They didn't do that to Poland. They didn't do that. They didn't do it to anybody. Everybody's free to choose with who they want to align to, but no, not Ukraine. No, not Ukraine. Why? Because it's their last leg of getting their Soviet Union back. Please understand, there is no other reason to why they are attacking Ukraine. So all their BS about, oh, it's a NATO, we don't want NATO extension, we don't want EU extension. What are you on about, G? That's all there is there. So no, it's not about EU extension or NATO extension, because if you clearly look at this map, you will see the border NATO and EU everywhere. And they have no issue with that. Everywhere they border NATO and EU, except Ukraine. So now that's suddenly a problem. While Russia is the biggest country in the world, they want more territory because they have a problem with NATO and EU. Like, seriously, guys? Like, I don't even understand who falls for this. That's not what they're doing, okay? They want Ukraine back because it's the last country that they can take, and that's what opens, as you can see, the whole Europe for them. It's just that easy. It's just that easy. And once they take that and they supply Ukraine, yeah, like they do it with the Chechens, yeah, when they fought the war with the Chechens, and then after they've got them, now they're using the Chechens to fight in Ukraine. They're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna take the Ukrainian army and fight with the Ukrainian army in Moldova. Yeah, and after they're done with Moldova, they're gonna go to Poland. Poland knows that. Why do you think Poland is supplying weapons to Ukraine? Why do you think Poland is ready to send army to Ukraine? We know that. And those are the facts. So now I hope you understand why there will be no peace until Ukraine gets their territory back and Russia takes their army back or loses. There's two ways. Russia will lose either military or they will lose by the hands of the people. And I left you here with the Romanian Revolution, which was in 89. It was literally 30 days, 25 days before I was born. Yeah. So my parents and my brothers and my grandfathers and my uncles and my whole family lived in communism. Yeah. So I understand very well what communist means. And it's something that I wish on absolutely nobody. And how it ended and how Romania got out of communism is by having a massive revolution. So people had to go and fight in the streets, fight the communists and fight their army and fight everything. And they died in the streets to free us. And the same thing will happen to Russia eventually, because there's two ways. Either Russia stops doing this or eventually the people of Russia will eventually end this. There is no other way. So they need to retreat, or eventually so many people will die on the Russian, because Russia has a super weak army. Please understand, which is why they benefit of this ceasefire. Yeah, so they are benefiting now from this ceasefire because it gives them time to resupply their army, put more soldiers to die, and eventually all those Russian mothers are gonna wonder why their soldiers and their sons are all buried. Right? You can't keep going with this war because eventually the Russian people will revolt. And what happened in Romania and happened in many other communist countries is the revolution, where people went on the streets because they just didn't have anything to lose. Everyone was so poor, was controlled, that they had nothing to lose anymore. So they went and risked their lives. And what happened was a public execution of the dictator. So both Ceausescu and his wife, which was the dictators of Romania, again, only 20 days before I was born, they were publicly executed, right, by the people and the army, because even the army turned on them eventually. So please understand, this will not end well for anybody. So Russia needs to stop. Eventually they will run out, and this is why important. So we carry on the fighting, we carry on the war. We don't need to attack Russia, we just need to defend Ukraine, give them weapons and protect Ukraine. Russia will eventually run out of everything, right? And there will be a democratic country once their own people decide to take the matter into their own hands. We cannot go, no one wants to attack Russia, no one wants to change them. We cannot go into another country and dictate rules, but they cannot invade Ukraine. As the way we don't go in Russia and take their government down, they cannot go to Ukraine and take their government down. Right? The only people that can stop the Russian government is their own people. When the Russian people will have enough, they will do that. So that's all I'm gonna say. So we don't need to do anything but defend Ukraine. And again, you can find all these, it's everywhere. So just please understand that how important this is for Ukraine to win this war, not just for Ukraine, not just for Eastern Europe, not just for Europe, but for the whole world, which is why everyone is stepping up to help Ukraine. And Russia now, pressure is on Russia to show us if they can handle the ceasefire for what, even if they stop for 30 days, they're gonna get their troops and carry on. There's no other way, and Ukraine will not accept, and it shouldn't accept, to giving that territory to Russia. So Ukraine won't stop, Russia won't stop. So this ceasefire doesn't guarantee us any peace whatsoever. It's nothing but a pause to the war so they can resupply, so they can go fight again. This is insane, absolutely crazy, which is why the pressure should be constantly kept on the Russian. There should be no ceasefire. Like I said, Zelensky and Ukraine didn't want a ceasefire. They want to take their country back. And they know that the ceasefire gives Russian time to resupply, which Russian army is extremely weak. Please understand, they have big issues. And the problem with them losing that territory in Russia, it's big because the Russians were using villages to put their soldiers in houses and do attacks. And now, if there's a ceasefire, nothing stops Russia from mounting the whole army on the border. Please understand, because there's a ceasefire. So they don't need to hide in houses and in villages. They can literally just go and put their army at the border and supply. And when they're ready to attack, they're gonna attack again. That's exactly what's gonna happen. So that's why we need peace, not just a ceasefire. Peace out.